The following is a paid political announcement.
Lifelong Democrat Diana Florence served for 25 years as a Manhattan prosecutor under DA Robert Morgenthau. She put criminals away, stood up for victims, and protected our streets. Now, Diana is challenging failed Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg as an independent because it's time for a DA who fights for our families, not criminals. That's why Diana has won the support of organized labor like the steam fitters, plumbers, and ironworkers, everyday New Yorkers who want a DA they can trust. Manhattan needs a DA who will do the job, prosecute crime. That's Diana Florence. Under Alvin Bragg, crime is up and prosecutions are down. Bragg doesn't prosecute crime. He plays partisan politics. Bragg failed to protect women and failed to protect workers. As a prosecutor, Diana Florence won groundbreaking convictions, fighting against corruption, domestic violence, wage theft, and daily working conditions. She's always been a partner of unions, community groups, and to cops like us. For Manhattan District Attorney, vote for Diana Florence. Diana4DA.com. Paid for by Diana for Manhattan DA.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And at 4 minutes after the hour, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another iteration, an exciting program as you tell us another experience with me, Steve Cates, Dr. Sky, with the Dr. Sky Experience. If you'd like to get in the conversation, always great guests as you tell us. The number, of course, 1-800-848-9222. That's 1-800-848-9222. Email, you can email me 24/7, DRSKY, Dr. Sky at WABCRadio.com. And we encourage everybody out there within the powerful signal of 77 WABC. If you'd like to listen to past performances of the Dr. Sky Experience, you simply can go, as you can also listen to all the other many great hosts here on this radio station, to WABCRadio.com or RedAppleAudioNetworks.com. Great information, ladies and gentlemen, as you tell us from the realms of astronomy, space, aviation, weather, celebrity guests in the mix, and always stories about American exceptionalism. We got so many positive emails from last night's show. We want to thank our very special guest last night, talking about the historical side of Christopher Columbus and how he and his ships navigated on 4 voyages across to the so-called New World. That, of course, is an amazing part of history as we move into our deep part of our weekend toward Columbus Day. And also, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our helmsmen, Tony and Bill, navigating the powerful signal of 77 WABC here to you, whether you're listening to us in the evening, the morning, or anywhere around the nation and the world, or who knows, maybe even out into the cosmos. For the 2 hours, ladies and gentlemen, we have the very special guest on a very important subject, so you may want to get out a notebook and take some notes if you're not driving, because I think you'll enjoy this particular episode of the Dr. Sky Experience, talking about something that, well, many of you out there may experience it. I do every day. Frequency pollution. We're going to get into a great detail on what that really means. But the word we center around is something called radiation. And what is radiation? Waves and particles traveling through space or a medium. And if we go back in the annals of history, let's go back in our time machine to 1896, when scientist Henry Becquerel allegedly discovered the phenomenon known as radiation with uranium salts that darkened in photoplates. Something fascinating, very technical, but also names that you may be more familiar with, Marie and Pierre Curie discovering polonium in a substance we call radium. And moving fast forward in time, if we go back in history to the Soviet Union, we find Soviet dissident Viktor Litvinenko, was allegedly poisoned. His tea was poisoned with polonium-210. Horrible. What does it have to do with the subject matter that we're talking about? A lot, ladies and gentlemen. If we go out there and talk about the science of radiation and electromagnetic frequencies, we find out that there's 7 types of electromagnetic frequencies. Radio, which you're listening to right now. Some of the longest of all the waves in electromagnetism. Then there's microwaves, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays, and then, ladies and gentlemen, the interesting stuff that we're going to get into today. But we talked a little bit before about what we call frequency pollution. And according to our guest, and we'll introduce him, Norbert Heuser, our future on this planet depends on how we understand and apply frequencies. The future in medicine is frequency medicine. Not pills, not white gowns. Nikola Tesla. And a quote, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration," end quote. The world, every product, and every person is based on frequencies only. There are only two types of frequencies, in our guest's opinion, pro-survival and counter-survival. Who is he? Norbert Heuser. He's a German inventor, entrepreneur, public speaker, life and health coach, and a consultant for management. He's traveled around the world and visited 39 countries, giving more than 200 interviews, podcasts, webinars, and seminars on a subject that I think, ladies and gentlemen, you will find most fascinating, the story of frequency pollution and what's going on with the world of our cell phones and radiation. With that, let's welcome, as we talk to him in his office down in the beautiful state of Florida. Good morning, Norbert. Thanks for joining us on the Dr. Sky Experience. How you doing?
Dr. Sky, thanks a lot for having me. First time on your station. I feel very privileged and happy to be with you.
Well, thank you, sir. You know, this is fascinating. You and I, of course, I scour the internet and I come across your name and I say to myself, wow, this is an interesting topic, because what we're also going to do, ladies and gentlemen, why I mentioned at the top of the program, you might want to get a notebook out, because we're not just going to talk about this subject. We're going to tie in all from the astronomical side, all the incredible things of radiation and frequencies. And how about this one? I know, Norbert, you're familiar with it, but the audience may not. Something in the astronomical world called gamma ray bursters. Now, this is mind-boggling stuff here. It's the alleged collapse of a hypernova or two neutron stars that collapse. But what's interesting about this, in the moment that we see these few second bursts out in the universe, billions of light years away, more energy comes out of them in 1 second. I'm going to say this twice, than the sun will output in its entire lifetime of 10 billion years. More energy in 1 second than the sun will output in its lifetime of 10 billion years. I know that's off the charts, but closer to home, tell me a little bit more about your background and how you got into this particular study that correlates frequency pollution, as we talk about, with the cell phone and other types of electronic, hardware. How'd you get started in all this? I'm fascinated, and I'm sure the listeners are.
Well, 45 years ago, still living in Germany, where I was born and raised, I became very sick. And prior to that, I've never been to a doctor. I found by accident a doctor, and this doctor was specialized in food addiction. And he diagnosed me that I was close to die because of a food addiction. Within 2 weeks, he turned my life around and my health. And I was so fascinated that as an adult man, I asked the doctor whether he would mind that I do an internship with him with no pay. And he agreed, and I would work with him every day except Sunday and Christmas. And it stretched out to be 1 year. For 1 year every day. And what I learned changed my life, and I'm here today because I met this doctor. And as a management consultant, I added to be a health consultant specialized in food addiction, finding out that basically, I would dare to say 80-90% of the population has food addictions, which mostly they're not aware of, and which eventually cause them to be very sick. So that was 45 years ago. Yes. And then I was never sick again, and then 18 years ago, I became again very sick all of a sudden. And this time I found out that it was due to cell phones. Mm-hmm. And my firstborn grandson was sick at the same time, and I diagnosed that we had both a problem with cell phones. I looked around and said, there got to be something to protect from the cell phone usage, and I didn't find anything, and what was around didn't work. It was just all nonsense. So I decided to design something for myself to protect myself and my family, my immediate family. And it became so interesting that all of a sudden it became a company, and I didn't want to have a company. I didn't want to manufacture, but it happened to turn out to be this way. And so this was then my road to give seminars worldwide, and workshops, interviews, podcasts, but not only on the topic of cell phones and electromagnetic radiation, but other topics as well. which ended up to be my career.
Well, it's an interesting story, Norbert, and I appreciate your time with us. 1-800-848-9222 as we delve into these subject matters that, of course, from the Dr. Sky Experience side, we normally talk about things way beyond the earth. We're talking about frequencies. We're talking about radiation. And in this particular episode, of course, the conversation could go from way out to gamma ray bursters, right, Norbert, all the way back to the subject matter that I feel so enamored by listening and reading some of your works. The concept here called frequency pollution, and you center it on an object that every single person has, at least I think so, around this world. Here's some factoids, and I know you could corroborate this in greater detail. We spend an average, they say, who's they? Scientists and various research groups, 195 minutes a day on our smartphones. Is that a fair assessment, or is, in your opinion, way more from your research?
It's more. It's more.
Mm-hmm. I would imagine so.
More. And a lot of people have not only one cell phone, they have even two.
Yes.
More and more people have two cell phones, not only one. It's something which we can't stop. We can't reverse the wheel. And like some other topics, I compared with the cigarette industries in the 50s and 60s. They knew what they were doing to mankind, but they kept hush because it's business. Let's frankly be very clear. It's business. Huge, huge business. The mobile phone Wi-Fi business is huge.
Absolutely. I mean, there's not a place you cannot go, Norbert. Obviously, go to shopping malls, supermarkets. Everybody's got a little kiosk and they're trying to sell their particular ones. Look, I have one. I'm sure the 99% of the listeners do out there. But again, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with this gentleman, Norbert Heuser. His opinions, of course, are his, and he's not a medical doctor, so let me be very clear about that. And in his experience, he's done a lot of extensive research on this. But according to so many of these different research polls, and I'm just quoting this, please expand on this, 70% of people consider cell phones and the radiation to be of a concern to them. So why are we not hearing more about this? Is the cell phone industry pumping money in there? I haven't seen commercials that say, get XYZ brand cell phone, it's guaranteed to be safe. I never hear that. So talk more about this. Maybe it's more than 70%. Maybe it's not. You're the expert on the subject as we have you on the Dr. Sky Experience.
Well, thanks again for having me. Now, the point is that people don't understand the danger of cell phones. And let's face it as well, it's damn practical. Cell phones are practical. No, who can live without cell phones? And the world would not be able to function without Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi and cell phones are the basic of our society to function. And if you would stop them tomorrow, the world would collapse. There's no question to that. Mm-hmm. It's always a question of interest. Now, when you talked about doctors, I'm not a doctor. It's true, I'm not a doctor.
Right.
And thanks God I don't want to be a doctor.
Okay.
Because 40 years ago, I started to lose respect for the general medical field, not for everybody, mm-hmm. but for a lot.
Okay.
Now, the point is that the medical doctor in the medical school has never been educated on cell phones, on electromagnetic radiation, and so on. Never been educated. They have no idea. And people who have an idea, doctors, they are the minority. A very small minority. So doctors have never been educated in this subject. As well, doctors have never been educated in water, which is one of my topics, how to identify what healthy water is. Right. Doctors have never been educated in nutritional supplements. So many fields, doctors have never been educated. And when they find their way to my seminars, they typically say two things. One thing is they say, how come what you taught today, nobody offered us in the medical school? And the second thing they say, look, we were educated to prescribe pharmaceutical products.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
And what my big criticism is, after I spent a lot of my time in China, Taiwan, Asia, Hong Kong, where I had my own companies, that there is no basic education of holistic medicine with the medical doctors. So
wow,
they
this
don't
is
know
pretty
all
powerful.
About this.
No, this is very powerful, Norbert. And let me say this. We had a guest on here from Switzerland, a young lady who wrote a extensive and exhaustive book, totally comprehensive, on the historical side of vaccines. And she said the very same thing. She said many medical doctors, she didn't say all, I would imagine her tenet was that majority were not educated in the whole concept of alternatives to the vaccine. And that's exactly what we're talking about with you, that the whole frequency pollution thing is probably a bigger subject. But obviously, it doesn't seem to, get its head above water until we talk to people like yourself about this. And I wonder, to the vast audience of Talk Radio 77 WABC, ladies and gentlemen, we respect your opinions out there and also your commentary. We love dialogue. We love critical thinking. I think that's a good way to have a conversation. So if you're inclined to want to talk about this, are you concerned out there, ladies and gentlemen, in this vast radio audience? And remember, one of the things we're using here is the longest wavelength of all these 7 of these electromagnetic, parts of the frequency world, radio waves. They were originally called Hertzian waves, and Marconi, of course, got the advance on this, and so did Tesla, that we talk about these long wavelength things called radio waves. So we're on one of them right now, not dangerous, of course, but this is extensive, and I think it's very expansive. 1-800-848-9222 for opinions, commentary. Maybe people out there will disagree with you, but the whole point is it's a public square, but it's bigger than the public, right, Norbert? It's a big, vast audience of people out there.
Well,
let me ask you. Go ahead.
I love when people don't agree with me, and I love in conversation, like when I give the seminars, the best thing is people can talk to me, interrupt me, discuss with me. I can demonstrate. So there's nothing nicer than a good dialogue.
Absolutely, and that's what we love on this program. And I say it not to sound overly pompous or, so that I have to have it my way. We talk about this, the 4 types of conversation: debate, discourse, diatribe, and dialogue. This is obviously a program where people can express their ideas, and we do it, hopefully, with the civility that I know is way out there. And all the people we have that call in, boy, they're awesome, and their callers rule on this particular show. 1-800-848-9222. Our very special guest, if you're joining us, a researcher, an author, a man who does seminars on subject matters, the subject, kind of 2-3 subjects: frequency pollution, the possible dangers in the author's opinion of what's happening with cell phone radiation. And of course, we go back in our Dr. Sky stories talking about the vast universe and the many powerful signals that come from the universe, all frequencies. In the little bio that I read of you, you talk about we're all made of frequencies. And elaborate more on this, because this goes back to a lot of the ancients who believed that everything in the world is all about harmony and the mixture of frequencies. And obviously, Norbert, the Earth has a resonant frequency itself that's supposed to be a most calming thing, probably not getting out to everybody because of all the frequencies that are out there in what we call frequency pollution.
Well, it's very simple. From the bird's eye view, it's very simple. This world is based on frequencies only. And my countryman, Max Planck, discovered in the year of 1900, he discovered quantum physics,
yes,
which is nowadays the standard in modern physics. And I couldn't do my work without his researches and without his findings. So I traveled 39 countries, as you said, and I used to look at my fingerprints. We all know that every person in this world has a different fingerprint, which is mind-boggling if you really think about it. 8 billion people, okay? Right. So 8 billion people have different fingerprints. Nowadays, they don't look at the fingerprints anymore at the airport when I travel internationally. They look at my eyes, and within a split second, they know it's me. So we have very unique features. We have some 3 billion cells in our body, and every cell in our body, every single cell has its own unique frequency. Its own unique frequency. Now imagine 8 billion people in the world and everyone has 10 trillion cells in this body, how many frequencies there are. And what is even same mind-boggling is that every person, every individual has his own unique frequency. Mm-hmm. This is why distant healing or distance analysis of health is possible without the person being present, which I demonstrate in my seminars. And I demonstrate in my seminars telepathy. Mm. Telepathy is only possible if you know a person's frequency.
Interesting. Yes.
So, and I demonstrate it, so people don't need to believe me in my seminars. Now over the phone, it's a bit difficult. People may say, what the hell is he talking about? Well, in the seminar, it becomes real. I transfer energy from myself to people in the room at will, and they can feel it, they can see it, they can experience it. So the world is based on frequencies. Now, of course, I studied a person called Royal Rife. an American man who was the first person who really worked on medicine and frequency, discovering that every illness has its own frequency. And he found this out, Royal Rife here in America. The FDA destroyed his blueprints and his machines and his findings, but it still came through. So you have to study Tesla when you go into this field. Now, what Tesla did not discover, I don't blame him, he discovered so much.
He sure did.
What I discovered is, and it's one of my theses, it doesn't matter how many frequencies there are in the world. You can separate the frequencies only in two groups. Mm-hmm. Either a frequency is pro-survival, or a frequency is counter-survival.
Interesting. Yes.
Can only be one of each. So in my younger career, I learned 45 years ago what kinesiology is, muscle testing, and I consulted people by testing them which of the food and beverages they consume after I experienced food addiction, which of the foods and beverages they consume is for them pro-survival or counter-survival. So I would test these people as a consultant, and once we're done with the testing, they had a pile of food in front of them on one side, which were all pro-survival, means eat those food, drink those drinks, and you will be healthy. And then counter-survival. And on the counter-survival pile were all these foods which proven that they should not eat them. They should not consume them. So you separate the world between counter and pro-survival. Then I discovered it's not only with foods, it's the same with human beings. Your wife you married is for you pro-survival or counter-survival. Yeah. The work you have selected is a pro-survival job or a counter-survival.
Well,
now,
Norbert,
your work is pro-survival.
It makes so much sense that you talk about this, but I want to interject something here. Many of the listeners may have heard this, but you haven't. A long time ago, I was, privileged and honored to know one of the astronauts, many astronauts that landed on the moon, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, and his out-of-body experience to the moon was laughed at in the old astronaut corps. Here's an MIT, genius in my mind. He came up with something that he developed called the Noetic Institute. And the simplistic term I'm going to use because it has a lot to do with the quantum world. He came up with something called the quantum hologram. And just like we're talking about frequencies, everything, the Earth, the universe, he talked about this in a very different way. He said that every single being on the planet, animal, instinct, everything, every creature, every little amoeba, in his mind is interconnected as if you could look at this giant web, like you could see this masterful 3D plan. So this is what we're saying, ladies and gentlemen. Our special guest, Norbert Heuser, we're going to get into the discussion here. Why we primarily have him here is to talk about his reasons for having some concerns about cell phone radiation. And you don't hear this kind of stuff every day, ladies and gentlemen. Are we telling you not to call in on your cell phone because you place it to your ear, that there's danger? This is in his opinion. And what we're talking about, not to convince people out there, we're just giving opinions, and those are the opinions of the guest here on this particular show, the Dr. Sky Experience. But the number, folks, 1-800-848-9222, if you'd like to get in on this conversation. Norbert, I can tell you're already popular because back at Ground Zero at the studios of 77 WABC, you're lighting it up right now, as I would expect, because this is such an important subject. And let me diverge a little bit into the side of the astronomical world that I talk about here. I kind of ran through these, and you know this, but maybe a lot of people don't. That's why I was saying in a light-hearted way, maybe people should get a notebook out and take some notes on this, because we're all going to learn something. If you look at the electromagnetic spectrum, there's 7 types: the radio frequency, microwaves, we'll get into this, infrared, visible light, ladies and gentlemen, which is a tiny little spectrum. If you think you're seeing the whole world, and it sure looks beautiful sometimes, doesn't it, if you have 2 good eyes? Blessings to those that don't. But the truth is, then there's ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays. And how about this? I mean, this is more from the quantum world, and I think you know this, but I want the audience to be aware of this. There are 4 forces, they're fundamental forces, folks, in the universe. What are they? I just mentioned electromagnetism, a pretty powerful set of forces, those 7. Then we find the strong nuclear force. What's that? Without getting into too much physics, it bonds protons and neutrons in a very strange way, more than we have time. And then the weak nuclear force, which can change atoms from neutrons into protons. And Norbert, we saved the best for last. Gravity. Gravity, the thing we really don't understand. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It's the weakest of all those forces. So, Norbert, this is fascinating. What we're talking about is frequencies, energies, how every human being and how every animal, we're all interconnected here, but we don't hear this stuff every day. So I appreciate you being there. We're going to go to the break here in about a couple of minutes, so you got the floor, sir. We go to the hard break.
So the basic, as I mentioned, quantum physics. In quantum physics, it's very clear that everything, everybody, every subject is intertwined with each other, whether we are aware of it or not. Mm-hmm. And there's no separation between your mind, the frequencies of your mind and your thoughts, and the physical matters. They're all intertwined, which my countryman Max Planck found out. He got then 18 years later, 18 years later, the Nobel Prize, because people yelled at him, laughed about him, because what he found out, quantum physics was ridiculous in their eyes. He was rejected by the establishment in the physics. But it took then 18 years till the Nobel Committee gave him the Nobel Prize for his findings on quantum physics. So, but then maybe we should start to move over to the cell phone, which may be our main topic today.
Well, we should, and we will do that with you, Norbert. This is the reason, one of the primary reasons we have you, and I'm sure the listeners out there. We're going to get into your side of the equation of why you have this mentality, and I think it's a very respectable one, about why people should be concerned about this, because, you know, I must also admit, I'm going to come from honesty, and it's the only way to be with everybody all the time on this radio archive, is that, yeah, sometimes I sleep with that phone, and I know you're probably going to tell me, shut the damn thing off, but, you know, the more I study this, the more I'm trying to say, wow, maybe I should listen up and follow these instructions. Ladies and gentlemen, we see the calls coming in, like John in Long Island, Jen in Lynbrook, Ed in the Midwest, Alexi in Queens, Charlie in Brooklyn. We'll do our very best, as always, to get you on the air, to give you, ladies and gentlemen, a chance to obviously state your mind, ask your questions about what? This most vast universe, an incredible universe with frequencies, our main subject of the 2 hours with our special guest, Norbert Heuser. He's going to share with you some of his reasons why he believes the cell phone radiation could be a concern of yours. We'll be right back after this hard break with so much more, ladies and gentlemen, on the Dr. Sky Experience.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It is okay to own a technology. What is not okay is to be owned by technology. A quote from author Nabjit Naskar as we continue here with the Dr. Sky Experience with our special guest, Norbert Heuser, talking about concerns that he has in his extensive research about cell phone radiation. And then we'll continue to talk, ladies and gentlemen, about the wonders of the universe with all other frequencies. Norbert, the lines are lit up, so let's say good morning to John in Long Island. John, you're on with Norbert Heuser. How are you doing this morning? John, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning, sir. Go right ahead.
Okay, good morning. So, it's an interesting topic. I'm directly affected by this topic in regards to my mother for many years never had a cell phone, but she had one of those at the time, was those cordless phones for the home with the antenna. And she spoke for many years with her friends because she was elderly at that point. She would have these late night conversations forever. And unfortunately, my mother all of a sudden developed brain cancer.
Oh,
and I always
bless.
wonder, the glioblastoma, one of the worst, the most worst.
My God. Yes.
And it took her out very quickly. But I always wondered that frequency, did it affect her brain, you know, going through your skull with the thing next to your head with the antenna into the base and so forth. And it's always questioned in my mind, is that possible?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You don't have only problems with a cell phone. You have what we call electromagnetic radiation. Now, I got to give you a quick introduction. I try to make it short and impact and quick.
Okay.
We, as a human being, are based on electricity as well. Without electricity, our body wouldn't work. Our heart wouldn't work, our brain wouldn't work, and other organs wouldn't work. We have our own electricity. Now, we have our own electromagnetic radiation. Okay? We have our own electromagnetic radiation. And electromagnetic radiation is measured as you measure the speed of the car in miles and your weight in pounds. You measure electromagnetic radiation, what is called microwatt per square meter. This is the international standard, how you measure the intensity of electromagnetic radiation.
Microwatt per square centimeter is what you're saying.
Per square meter. Per square meter.
Excuse me.
Okay. Now, we have a natural field. Our natural field is 80 microwatts per square meter. That's our natural field we live with, we are born with, and which is healthy and which is fine, good. More than 100 is not good. More than 120 is end of funny. So 1,000 is highly dangerous. Can you keep this number a bit in mind? 80 is natural. 100 is a bit much. 120, 1,000 bad, big time.
Yeah, we hear you.
Now, when we do a cell phone call, we have easy 1,000, 2,000. When we drive an electric car, we have easy 5, 6, 7,000.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and the cordless phone, like the cell phone, work on electromagnetic radiation. And to make this clear, very important to understand, without electromagnetic radiation, the cell phone or Wi-Fi would not work. Like car without gas doesn't drive, right?
Exactly.
So a cell phone without electromagnetic radiation does not work. Yeah. This is why many of these advertisings are so bad, where they say they sell you gadgets to protect you, and they say we block electromagnetic radiation. When people say this, you know they have no idea what they're talking about, because if they would successfully block the electromagnetic radiation, you wouldn't be able to use your cell phone.
Well, let me ask you this, Norbert. I think what John's asking you, and I think it's more specific, I think you're asking what, John, about the antenna being the causation. Is that what you're trying to drive at? I mean, what your question is?
It's going right through, obviously it's next to her head. Obviously it's going to go through her brain, try to make a connection to the base and so forth. I mean, if you're in a wall of a room with 4 walls of brick, it's going to go through those walls as well, too. It's going to go through your brain as well. I mean, it's going to have to alter the brain cells and so forth.
Yeah, the mobile phone, the cordless phone is even more dangerous than a cell phone because you have the sender and the receiver
correct
in one space. Yes, so whether you live with a cell phone or with a cordless phone, the same problem of electromagnetic radiation. And yes, the frequencies penetrate your brain. A friend of mine used to work with Ericsson back in the days when Ericsson was the leading manufacturer of cell phones in the world. Yeah, and they made a test. They put cell phones attached to the head of pigs and let them run around for a while. Then they took the pigs, slaughtered them, and cut the skull open to see how far the frequency penetrated the brain. And of course they did.
It's amazing.
And on my
let me say this,
website,
Norbert, we have... No, not to cut you short here, but we do have a lot of callers. And, John, I wanted to give you the opportunity. Again, God bless you.
Did it answer your question? Yes.
Yes, unfortunately, the anniversary of my mom's death in a few days. I just thought about it, but I know, obviously, there's
God bless her, yes.
Thank you so much for your time, Joe. Have a good evening.
Thank you, John.
Yes, thank you. Let's continue now with Jan in Lynbrook. Good morning, Jan. You're on with our special guest, Norbert Hauser. How are you this morning?
Hi, I'm just fine. This is a fascinating conversation. I was just going to say that the Beach Boys knew all about vibration. They even wrote a song about it.
You better believe it. All frequencies. I love it.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting, Jan. You would say, go ahead, please. I don't mean to cut you short.
Well, it has to do, I guess it goes along with what your guest was saying, that we all produce our own vibrations, and compatible vibrations hopefully get together. And this is
they should. Unfortunately, in many cases, and this usually ends in a tragic divorce when the vibrations are not the same. They don't harmonize. So in this world, you have only pro-survival frequencies and counter-survival frequencies. And to give you the example of food, when I test you, the apple is a pro-survival frequency, the orange is a counter-survival frequency, which you shouldn't eat. But if you keep eating it, you get more easy sick. So the same thing happens with people and with your job. If you have a pro-survival work you do, you work for a pro-survival company, you have pro-survival relationships, then you live a healthier life. This is very simple.
Right.
Well, Jen, let me ask you a question. Are you concerned? Obviously, thank you for the compliment that this is an interesting show, but are you personally concerned about the whole concept of this radiation thing with cell phones? Tell us. I'd like to hear from you.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. If I could find another way to communicate without a cell phone, I'd jump at it, because I definitely do not want to advance up to the iPhone 5. Because the vibrations or the electromagnetic frequency coming out of that is much higher than the 4 that I have. It's an older version. iPhone.
It's just a bit of a difference, but the effect to your body, the harmful effect, is basically the same. Okay, they're both bad, differently bad. Okay, and the problem is nowadays. I started with a cell phone and explaining people the problem of cell phone. But the point is, if you today, I go a bit advanced here in my program, but we're on the topic, if you would disconnect your phone today, if you would not use a cell phone right now, you stop using it, it wouldn't make a big difference. Because you get penetrated with the frequencies of all the Wi-Fi you have at home or your neighbors have at home, and the Wi-Fi towers around you. And you go to the church, you go to kindergarten, you go to school, you are everywhere exposed. So whether you have...
Norbert, I can hear your passion here, and it's very powerful stuff, but I want to mention this to Jen because of time is of the essence, and we try to give everybody at least a fair shake and give them a chance to respond back. But this is interesting, Jen. If you look what Norbert is saying, if you and I and everybody listening could see in the world of radio frequencies instead of just visible light, thank God we can see that, we would see exactly all these radiation things permeating all different directions. What you're saying, Norbert, is right. But Jan, we don't want to alarm you. We just want to help educate and give opinion. So that's exactly what I hope you're happy hearing. And we thank you for being part of the Dr. Sky experience. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's continue on, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk to Ed in the Midwest. That's a big area to cover, the Midwest. Good morning, Ed. You're on with Norbert Hauser. How are you, Ed?
Hi, Dr. Sky. Hi, Mr. Norbert. Back in the early 80s, I met this scientist who was creating these odd devices. And one thing that he was inventing at the time, and he told me about it, and I was, 17, 18 years old, and he talked about it at great length, was a device that measured the leakage or the amount of radiation that he could encounter at different levels from the conventional microwave oven. And somebody bought his patent out, and I asked him, I said, I didn't really understand much as a kid. I said, what's this all about? He said, he said they bought the patent, it's hush money. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, the stuff that's coming out of out of these machines is harmful for you. So to this day, I hide myself behind my refrigerator, my small kitchenette, and hopefully, I don't know how much it'll block it, but I stay a good distance away, and I'm very mindful of those times.
Sorry.
Well, Ed, I'm glad you're with us.
Bad news. It will not. It will not. And I'm just releasing in the near days, starting to release a Mythbuster series where people tell you how you can protect yourself from the harmfulness of electromagnetic radiation of a cell phone. And I shot about 25 videos, and 24 are all wrong information. For example, the information you should hold your phone on speakerphone and not to your head, right? You may have heard that, which is complete nonsense. Why? Because, which I prove in my seminars, a cell phone penetrates your body in a distance of about 7 feet. So if you don't have a cell phone and your wife walks up to you with her cell phone in her hand, as soon as she reaches 7 feet, you are affected by her cell phone, even if you don't have a cell phone.
That's interesting. Ed, you get the last word. We got about a minute and a half here before the next break. So,
yes,
go ahead.
Dr. Sky, your show is very interesting as always. And thank you, gentlemen. Good night. Thank you.
No, thank you for your interest, and I hope you'll continue to be part of this expansive effort here to open people's minds on subject matters that they probably don't hear. Norbert, we're up against the break here, but I promise myself and the listeners will continue. If you have concerns, ladies and gentlemen, please give us an opportunity to have those shared by having you on the air at 1-800-848-9222. Norbert Hauser will be with us for the next hour or two in hour number 2 discussing this. And then I'm also going to diverge into a little bit of the subject matter where we're talking about what else is in the universe. Not that any of that should be alarming to us, but the whole story, ladies and gentlemen, about frequencies and all the things that we're going to see here on planet Earth. We're being penetrated by so many frequencies, the understatement of the year, here on the Dr. Sky Experience. Again, 1-800-848-9222, and we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The smartphone is definitely smarter than us to be able to keep us addicted to it. A quote from novelist Munya Khan. 48 minutes after the hour, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you. And we go, of course, back to our very special guest, Norbert Hauser. He's telling us more, and in the second hour, we'll be hearing so much more about the concerns he has that you should be aware of about radiation from cell phones and other devices. Let's say good morning, that is, to Charlie in Brooklyn. Good morning, Charlie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. It's a very, very good show. I happen to own several books on the subject, and I really believe that this doctor is really onto an extremely important topic. I know that from one of the books I could remember, read them a few years ago. The woman who wrote the book, her husband died because he used to repair cell phone amplifiers for cell phone towers, and he was only in his 40s, I think, or early 50s, and he got cancer. So she became very preoccupied with this whole subject and did a lot of research and wrote a book, and I believe it's called Cell Phones, the Dark or the Deep Destruction. I can't remember her name.
Yes.
I know that one of the things I remember is if I'm in my car driving and I have my cell phone on, the cell phone is in constant communication with the cell phone towers, and it's constantly looking for the nearest cell phone tower.
Exactly. It's searching. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
And the cell phone, I have a landline phone that I try to use as much as unfortunately I'm using my cell phone now, but I have a landline phone that I try to use as much as possible when I'm at home. And I forget, and I've been using this phone probably too much. I'm on my cell phone now, but
yeah, any advice, Norbert, that you have for Charlie? I mean, he's testifying, he's using it as we're listening to him. There you go.
Yes, well, as I said earlier on, there is no escape. We cannot live on this planet like it is now without Wi-Fi and cell phone. But we have to turn it around. We have to use it in a way that it doesn't harm us anymore, which we'll talk perhaps in the second hour. I want everybody to know quickly that you cannot escape. You have to find a solution. And to be aware of a problem is half the solution, if you are aware of a problem. And, of course, if you have a landline, this is great. But as you said now, you're using now because you're in the car. But on top of that, as I mentioned before, it doesn't matter anymore. People come to me, I switch off my cell phone at nighttime. It doesn't matter. I put it on airplane mode. That's a joke. That doesn't make a change.
Exactly.
It's still communicating with the towers. So during the show, I'm trying, let's say, Jeff, if you agree that we today take off entirely the subject of cell phone and nothing else to make sure that the audience has a complete, full conceptual understanding. And then some other shows, if you want to have me back, we cover other topics. Let me then quickly give you the rundown in history. In 1980, 81 came out the first generation of cell phone. We're saying nowadays 4G, 5G, and so on. That means nothing else than the fourth generation of cell phone, the fifth generation of cell phone. That's all there is to this. Very easy to understand. 1981, 1G. 1992, 10 years later, 2G. 2G, you could make a cell phone call and text. In 2001, 10 years later, 3G. Cell phone, text, and online. 10 years later, in 2010, 4G, higher speed of the above, and still cell phone, text, and online. And 2020 came out 5G, the fifth generation. So 5G means fifth generation. Now, a lot of people think that this is new. It is not new. 5G has been used by the armies, the American, specifically the American Army, the British Army, the Canadian Army, as a weapon. 5G has been used since the 60s as a weapon. And what always happens, these big inventions are made in favor of the armies because they had all the budget in the world. GPS, microwave oven, cell phones. They had all the money in the world. And once they used it for the army, eventually they made small little versions to commercialize and make big money. Now,
yes, Norbert, but I got to cut you short here because we're short on time, and as the host of the show, I got to be the one to navigate this as we see fit.
You do that, please. Yeah, interrupt me anytime.
I appreciate you. But I want to mention something to Charlie. You're still there. Here's what I do, and I think Norbert might agree with this, but I do this. If you really want to have your cell phone not communicating, and this is interesting, we have a thing called a Faraday bag. And you could turn, I've experimented with this, not that I have anything to hide, but these little Faraday bags were also used in law enforcement too. So what happens, even if the phone is on, it goes to no service. And if I'm correct, Norbert, no spurious radiation seems to get out of that bag because it was designed for what they call in the law enforcement world chain of custody. So nothing could be erased from that. Why do I have one? Because there's certain times when I just want to put my phone in there. And above all, ladies and gentlemen, Charlie, what do you think? I'm talking about freedom. I still want to hold on to that. I think Norbert would agree. Charlie, your comment. Please continue.
I'd like to know the spelling of your last name. I'd like to go online and read many. Yes,
give out your website to Charlie and the entire world there, Norbert. Go ahead. Let everybody hear this.
My website is Improve Your Life with Norbert. Improve Your Life with Norbert, NORBERT.com. And the easier way is improveyourlife.us. Either way, improveyourlife.us.
And we'll give those out as the next hour continues here. But Charlie, I hope we've answered some of your concerns. Did we do a good job, or do you still have something that you're still scratching your head on?
You've done a good job with this with this guest. He's really onto an extremely important issue that more people should know about. I talk to people about minimizing their cell phone use, getting a landline phone, and they look at me like I'm from another planet. You know, I mean, it's like cell phones, electromagnetic pollution is something that most people don't really accept or don't want to know about, I guess.
Well, Charlie, let's see if you agree with me on this, and maybe Norbert too, of course, as our guest. It seems, in my opinion, so many of the younger folks have really no knowledge of the depth of what we're really saying here. Now, that doesn't mean that every young person is ignorant to the fact of electromagnetic pollution or frequency pollution, but I find it fascinating that I talk to a lot of young people. I do seminars myself on the astronomical stuff and the quantum stuff. But isn't that amazing? Do you run into that, Charlie, or did you say that? That's a lot of young folks maybe don't seem to understand the depth of the problem here or the concern.
Well, I see that most people don't want to know things about things that are unpleasant. It's the same reason a lot of people don't want to improve their diet, because they just want to eat what they enjoy, and they don't really they don't have the discipline or want to have the discipline to make more healthier choices. And the cell phone is such a convenience and is so accepted by people.
Sure.
Exactly. You're right. You're absolutely right. This is the problem. It's the ignorance, and it is staying in your comfort zone. this is the problem.
Well, I want to thank you, Charlie in Brooklyn, for being part of our show. Hope you'll continue as we move out to the universe and topics that I think everybody here has told me so far. In the short time the program's been around, the Dr. Sky Experience, people do tell me that they're enjoying it, and I hope you are also, Charlie. Thank you for the good word. Appreciate you. You know, Norbert, we're going to run up to the top of the hour here. We got about a couple of minutes here, but obviously having you here, just give that website out again so everybody, because just in case they didn't have a chance to copy it, give us the way to get in touch with you again.
ImproveYourLife.us.
Very interesting.
ImproveYourLife.us, which is my target, my calling, to help my mankind fellows to improve their life, their health.
Well said. And, you know, it's interesting. We're going to talk in the second hour, ladies and gentlemen, about non-ionizing radiation, ionizing radiation. And I promise, for those of you, of course, that have always tuned into this particular radio show, we'll give you a brief sky update of the things that you can see in the heavens that go way out into the frequencies that we're talking about. We started, of course, talking about the different types of electromagnetic frequencies. Once again, if you have your notepad out there, it's radio, the longest of wavelengths. Microwave, of course, the next as we move to the right. Infrared, visible light, which is obviously a very tiny spectrum, even though it's such a precious thing to us, having sight. And then we move on, of course, to ultraviolet, X-rays, and the things we talked about at the top of the program, the subject matter of gamma ray bursts. Isn't that incredible, Norbert? Something out in the universe, maybe the collapse of hypernova stars, neutron star collapses. More energy, folks, in 1 second. Talk about frequencies and energy that a gamma ray burst in about a second or so or less. More energy in 1 second than the sun will put out in its entire 10 billion lifetime of years. More with our special guest, Norbert Hauser, as we continue with the Dr. Sky Experience. 1-800-848-9222. If we didn't get to you, you're still on our caller board. Please stay in touch, and we'll do our best to get you on the air.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And 3 minutes after the hour, we continue to move through time and space with our special guest from hour number one, Norbert Hauser. He's, of course, a very interesting individual talking about many of the things that we may not pay attention to when it comes to cell phone radiation or frequency pollution, as I like to say. To get in touch with me, my email is just simply this, drsky@wabcradio.com. And, of course, check out our previous radio shows and all the great hosts here on Talk Radio 77, WABC at wabcradio.com, and, of course, RedAppleAudioNetworks.com. Thanks to our helmsman that makes sure the show is going out into space. Remember, radio, the longest of wavelengths, originally called Hertzian waves, but when Marconi came out and helped develop the topic called radio, it's now simply radio waves. Norbert, welcome back. I appreciate you, and I'd like to continue with the callers. No need for another introduction because they're ready to go. Let's continue, folks, as we talk with Alexei in Queens. Alexei, good morning. How you doing this morning?
All right, Dr. Sky. It's a pleasure to hear your voice. I hope you and your guests are well.
Thank you.
Dr. Sky, not to show any disrespect, but I must take notable umbrage about what your guest is speaking about.
With regard to?
Yeah. I think he needs to understand, too, that the amount of radiation from the typical cell phone is minimal, so tiny. It is incredibly small. And that is not the problem. So when you're speaking to someone, there is microwave energy leaving the phone, but it is so infinitesimal. And the cross-section of the human body cannot absorb such a small thing. Also, my fear is that the towers, the cell phone towers and the repeating equipment all over city, these are the problem because in some cases they use much more power, maybe 10, 15 watts of power. And at microwave, 10 or 15 watts in close place to a human being or organic thing is not good. It's very dangerous. So you will never catch me within 100 feet of a cell tower because you don't want to take a chance.
No, Alexei, listen, I respect you, but let Norbert respond in kind because, like I said, not everybody's going to agree with the whole concept. Norbert, you got the floor. Discuss this with Alexei from your side of the equation.
Alexei, good morning to you. You have no more control where you are. Every 300 feet, you have a cell phone tower or transmitters, which are so small, they're hidden, they're guided in traffic lights, in street signs. For the 5G technology, you need every 300 feet a transmitter. And comes out 6G, which they're working on, it will be even more so because the frequencies are very short-waved. So you cannot control this anymore. This is what I said earlier on. It's out of our control. And we are exposed everywhere. So if you walk down the street in New York, you're going to be attacked every few hundred feet by a new cell tower. And you cannot avoid that. It's impossible. I get letters every day, people asking me, where can I live to be protected, free from this? I said, there is no Robinson Crusoe Island. It's over. It's too late.
Well, that's interesting, Norbert. Here, let me jump in on this as the host. This is amazing because it bothers me. It sends a chill up and down my spine. But Alexei, what Norbert is talking about here, I mean, he has these facts on his side, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not the scientist in this equation on this electromagnetic radiation, but you get the last word, Alexei, as we always give every opportunity here for our callers. Go ahead, please.
I would like to examine the documentation and facts in my hand before I could even think remotely of agreeing with what he just said about the 7,300 feet on behind street signs and behind park benches and all this other nonsense.
Okay.
It is a phobia. Right. It is, there is
all right.
phobia.
One more time, Norbert, because we want to move forward here. Alexei, I respect you, believe me, like a brother, but we have a ton of callers that want to get on.
Alexis, first of all, I have on my website 1,500 pages of scientific testings of my technology. 1,500 pages, scientific testings and certifications. You find the information about every 300 feet is a transmitter all over the Internet. The other side does not deny that. They need that. They need the towers, transmitters, and there is a program called antennasearch.com. Antennasearch.com. It's a program on the Internet. You can step in there. You put in your address, and it shows you how many registered transmitters and towers are within 3 miles around the address you punch in. You put your apartment address, and you see all the towers within 3 miles around your property, which are 100 and sometimes thousands. And these are only the publicly registered towers. There are other private towers and transmitters as well. The problem is not the big towers. You can see them easily, but the small transmitters you cannot see. You don't see them. Right?
I heard that, and I do believe what you're saying, Norbert. But Alexei, God bless. We have to move forward here. We'll have to continue the dialogue. And Norbert, I'll ask you, just right up front, I'd like to know if you'll come back again, because this subject can never even be done in a 2-hour format, because there's so much to talk about. Will you at least, honor the whole opportunity here to come back and share more information as time goes on?
Oh, I'll come back every week to you.
I appreciate that. Alexei, blessings to you, my friend. And that's why we celebrate our First Amendment here, to give our opinions. Whether we right, whether we agree or not, that's what we do here. So let's continue to move on through time and space. Let's say they've been waiting patiently. Let's say good morning to Eduardo in Tampa Bay, Florida. Good morning. Are you on, sir?
Yeah, good morning. Let me tell you what I've been doing. And I've known this for a long time, because I have like a metal plate that I put on, because I use cargo pants, and I would put the phone, on top of that metal plate in my pants. And then I asked people, do you feel anything? And one time I asked the supervisor when I was working at my downtown over there in Chicago, and said, "Oh yeah, I don't feel anything." And it's like, am I like the only one who does that? Because right now, I even do this here in Tampa when I'm driving. I put the cell phone on one of my knees, on my legs, and I feel the radiation. I feel
heat, a lot of heat. Right?
Yeah, right.
The heat is only one symptom
of that metal plate.
The heat is only one symptom of electromagnetic radiation. There are other parameters like your biological and your physical health and organs. Now, I'm in Clearwater, Florida. If you wanted to come over for a coffee, I'll give you a test. I can guarantee you now from the bottom of my heart that the plate you're using does not work. It doesn't do nothing. On my website, we made a test. We bought 22 products on Amazon randomly, which all promise to save you from the harmfulness of cell phones. 22 products. Yes. Mine was the 23rd. In front of a camera, we had a double-blind study with a doctor who tested all the 23 products. Mine was the only product which worked. All the 22 don't work. 99% of all products I tested in 18 years do not work. And if you take a metal plate or whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't handle the electromagnetic radiation, which you cannot see and most people cannot feel.
Wow, Eduardo, you and Norbert have something in common. You're like literally miles apart. So maybe you can both meet. You two guys can, you have home court advantage with him. So you guys can meet hopefully in what? A cell phone free environment. How about that?
There you go. Yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah. Eduardo, go ahead. You have another question or comment? Go ahead, sir.
No, what is your, this might be off topic, but what do you, think about, I saw this on the German news, DW, a technology where they use laser for the internet. Could that be done for phones in the future?
No. They will go to 6G now. The next step is they already started to use 6G, which to my opinion is the end of mankind as we know it.
Wow.
6G will destroy the life we were living will not exist anymore. But that's the topic for another day then. But I can tell you, these are no alternatives. And what the Dr. Sky said before about the Faraday bag, I personally have tested several Faraday bags. They didn't work. One or two worked. But it's not a way to live.
I don't want to have to hide my phone just to have, not to have spurious radiation. You're right. But not to disagree with you, Norbert. Mine seemed to shut off everything. And this was in a law enforcement environment that I was part of. Without revealing,
I mean, it's as I teach in my seminars, you have to have practical applications which people can use.
Oh, of course.
People can pull through. And if I put my cell phone, and again, you put your cell phone in a Faraday bag, the Wi-Fi from your neighbors left and right and above and below you will penetrate your apartment and your brain.
Wow, now it's getting scary, Norbert.
Well, it's very simple.
I hear you, my friend.
If you take your cell phone and you try to go on the internet, the cell phone will offer to you 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 different connections, which you could use if you would know the neighbor's password, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing.
Right? You could use these lines, or with your computer, with your Wi-Fi, if you would know the neighbor's Wi-Fi password. So you can switch off your Wi-Fi as much as you want. You can disconnect your phone, throw it away, throw it in the garbage. You are still penetrated by the electromagnetic radiation from your neighbors.
This sounds very dystopian, ladies and gentlemen, but Eduardo in Tampa Bay, I appreciate you.
And
what's that? Go ahead again. Yeah, go ahead, Norbert. Your website.
ImproveYourLife.us. I invite you to come over for a coffee, and I demonstrate to you. You don't need to believe me. And I show you all the scientific tests, but I demonstrate it on your body so you can see the difference.
This is amazing, Norbert.
I'll pay the
Eduardo.
Coffee, okay?
No, this is amazing. Eduardo and Norbert, we're actually making friendship out of this whole radio show. I like that.
ImproveUSA.com. Did I get that right?
No, ImproveYourLife.us. ImproveYourLife.us.
Eduardo, thank you for being part of the show. I hope you two hook up together and you can report back to us the experience as you sit with Norbert. Let's continue, ladies and gentlemen, as time permits here. They've been patient, on the line. Marjorie in Brooklyn, you're on with Norbert Hauser. How are you this morning?
Yes. Norbert, thank you for taking my call. I have a question. I'm using the Hedron patch on the back of my Android cell phone. My cell phone is a 5G, and I don't know how good I believe in the electromagnetic frequency possibility. I don't discount it. And the other thing is, I have a personal question because I'm Parkinson, and that's related to my brain. And I see many people using Bluetooth. And I'm saying to myself, I'm actually starting to worry about them because they have the Bluetooth in their ears, and I'm just concerned.
Yes, you're right. The Bluetooth doesn't help. It makes things worse because you have now with Bluetooth, you have a sender and a transmitter right on your body and the Bluetooth piece in your ear closer to the brain. So using a Bluetooth is much more harmful than just a cell phone. The cell phone is harmful, but with Bluetooth, it's even more harmful.
Well, Marjorie, some great tips here, don't you think? I mean, you have another question or comment? We do have a little time for you, of course, like everybody. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, besides the Hedron patch, I also have a stone, a Russian stone. I can't recall the name of it, that's supposed to help deflect EMF. I don't use it all the time. I have to remind myself to use the Hedron myself, personally.
Well, I can tell you that from my experience, 99% of all products out there which are supposed to help you, 99% to protect you, do not work. And I prove this every time in the seminar. When I give a seminar, I ask people to bring to the seminar the products which supposedly protect them. And I'll prove in front of them in their presence that they work or they don't work. 99% do not work.
That's amazing.
And I developed a technology, and my technology was tested scientifically by the BISA Institute in Austria. And they gave me certification that my claims are true, it works. And on my website, you can read 1,500 pages from the BISA Institute of all my products. I didn't want anybody to believe me. Because there's so much lies out there.
Right, the truth shall set you free in so many words. And Marjorie, thank you so much for being part of the show. So many callers, and no excuse that we can, of course, take everybody's call and give them a fair shake at questions. So thank you, Marjorie. Hope you have a great weekend. Let's continue as we talk with Deanna in Brooklyn. You're on with our good friend, Norbert Hauser.
Thank you so much. I think speaker's not as good, right? I'm kicking it off speaker. Okay.
Yes, you're okay.
Okay. I wanted to know if oranges are bad, lemons are bad too?
As far as what, ma'am? Fruits?
She talked about the food.
Oranges
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Good for you.
Yeah. No, we talk about now about food addiction. If Dr. Sky has ever an interest, I have a special show about food addiction where I'm specialized in. I have different subjects I'm specialized in. Food addiction. First of all, it always, by principle, depends on the person because every person is different. My findings are that basically everybody is positive for apples and everybody tests bad for oranges. And lemon is good.
Wow. That's amazing stuff, Deanna. See, we get a lot of help, not just in radio frequencies, but food and food addictions, which you have a very good expertise in. Your final comment, Deanna? Go ahead.
Can I ask you, microwave ovens basically kill your food? Am I right or wrong?
Absolutely. You should put the microwave oven and destroy it. Microwave oven destroys food, the vitamins, everything which is in the food, 80-90% is killed by the time you eat it. You can eat as well paper or carton or a box, which is as healthy as microwave oven food.
And remember, Deanna, that the microwave is the vibration of water molecules. That's what that's doing to heat it up. But what, of course, Norbert is talking about is it's like maybe already dead processed food is even deader, right? If there's such a way to say it.
But you can take the healthiest food, and I have one topic I'm specialized in is water, where I show you images of water which is being before and after the microwave oven. The water is destroyed. You can have the healthiest water in the world, which most people don't have, but if you have the healthiest water, you put it in the microwave oven, the water will be destroyed in his structure, which I show and prove again, and I have photos. And if you want to ever read a book, from Dr. Masaru Emoto. Dr. Masaru Emoto, who came up with photos about water, what is healthy water and bad water, and he has images there of microwave oven water.
Interesting. Deanna, thank you for being part of the show here. Time is of the essence. Again, being respectful to every caller. I hope the questions or comments there, the questions were answered. So let's continue to move on, ladies and gentlemen. We say good morning to Deidre in New Jersey. You're on with our special guest, Norbert Hauser. How are you?
How are you? Thank you for taking my call, Dr. Sky. Okay, my question is, have you ever heard of the Geiger counter? I think I'm saying it right, but I'm not sure.
You say Geiger counter?
Geiger.
Is it G-E-I-G-E-R?
G-E-I-G-E-R.
I believe that's the way it's spelled. It's something to do where you can buy it, and it actually gives you the radiation count of where you are.
But not of microwaves.
No, I know that. Okay. I just want to let you know, I had a friend of mine.
I can tell you that I took a Geiger counter with me years ago on an airplane because I wanted to prove that flying on an airplane kills your body. You have a natural exposure of radiation here on the ground where we live, a natural volume we're exposed to. And when you go on an airplane long-distance flight, this exposure we have on the Earth in the airplane is 30 to 40 times higher.
He's right. And you know what it is? It's the cosmic radiation, which is all permeating the universe. This is one area that I, have studied very extensively. And this is interesting, Deidre, when you fly. Not that people shouldn't fly. It's just that the incidence of more of that reception of cosmic radiation coming through as the higher altitude you go, you're not getting the Earth's protective blanket as much anymore. So you're right, Norbert.
And this is the reason why airline pilots have the highest rate of cancer in the world by profession.
Interesting stuff. Wow. So everywhere we go, we have to live like in a giant protective bubble if we could get one. So you're giving us good advice.
Well, I created it, Dr. Sky. I created it. I'm not here. It's no use for me to crucify something or somebody or something, whatever.
I get it.
If I cannot offer alternatives to be covered to solve the problem, then I'm wasting my time and your time.
No, absolutely. You say it so well.
Michael is bad.
It's just like in politics. Right. It's like in politics. We don't want to knock the other person. We want to try to provide answers to the problems instead of just blaming the other person.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, that's politics, I gather. Deidre, any other final comment or question? We appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. But I will tell you, have I had an out-of-body experience? Yes, I have. Many times in my life. But not recently, but younger.
Well, that's for another time. We'll talk about that with our UFO experts, and that's certainly a subject that is really near and dear to myself as we talk about these things in the cosmos. Let's continue the caller line here. We say good morning to Brian in New Jersey. You've been very patient. Say good morning to Norbert.
Good morning.
Good morning, Brian.
How's it going? Basically, I'm a little anxious. Basically, I've been reading about what he's saying for about 15 years. And like he's saying, it's basically suppressed, and most people don't even realize it. But if you go on to New Jersey website, back in 2017, they did a whole thing with the Board of Ed for New Jersey, and it lists, and it says emergency, basically the frequency, EMF, is dangerous to people. But they don't tell you to your kids in school. But if you go on NewJersey.com website, and the other thing I wanted to put out there is Dr. Barry Trower. Have you ever heard of him?
Absolutely. He's my fan. He's a friend. I communicate with him a lot. One of the most inspirational person in this world. Now, if we talk about Barry Trower, Dr. Barry Trower, you find interviews with him on YouTube, on the Internet. I communicated with him, which is a bit difficult because he doesn't have a phone. He does only handwritten letters, beautiful handwritten letters.
Wow.
So Dr. Barry Trower tells it all. I'm referring always to him in my seminars. And there's one more person, at least you should know. It's Captain Jerry G. Flynn. Both guys were working for their country's British Army, and Captain Jerry Flynn for the Canadian Army. Both guys were specialized in electromagnetic field radiation as weapons, and both are whistleblowers. And Captain Jerry G. Flynn wrote a book which everybody should read, Hidden Dangers, How Governments, Telecom, Electric Power Utilities Suppress the Truth about the Known Hazard of Electromagnetic Field Radiation. Captain Jerry Flynn, he recently died.
That's an interesting one. Yeah, that's interesting. And I wanted to add something to Brian. When I spent some time in my life in the law enforcement world, we don't talk about it much, but what we had was this product called an LRAD. And it looked like a giant stop sign, the same dimensions. But what it did, it's an acoustic weapon. I know Norbert probably knows a lot about it. But when fired into a crowd from a distance, let's say you have agitated protesters, you fire this thing off. Yeah, and then what you have is this white noise in your head that's so intolerable. And then there's the microwave suppression weapon, where you put it, let's say, on the back of a Humvee. It looks like a big antenna. And if you fire that into a crowd, well, what does a microwave oven do? A microwave oven will heat up everything. It allegedly heats up the bodies, so you're not going to have many protesters. You know, if it's a violent protest, they're going to scatter, and that's incredible technology. But hopefully it gets in the right hands, don't you guys think? There you go.
Well, that's the scary thing. But back to the Dr. Barry Trower, most people that are listening right now, that's a name, like he said, probably after the other guy passed away, is probably the most knowledgeable guy now, Barry Trower. And like you said, I mean, he helped this little girl win a case in Portland and against the Portland Board of Ed. Basically, she wanted to have a healthy kid. Make a long story short, she was only 11 years old. She's 20-something now, healthy, has kids. But everything he read, I wrote about basically proven stuff. And they won the case. And they took all the Wi-Fi out of school. But the whole thing is, he puts in here, basically, it goes like this. I mean, basically, they knew back in the day. I mean, with the one thing he gets to right here is he goes, basically, by 1971, U.S. Medical Naval Research had 2,300 research articles in its lineup and caused 120 impairments. So the U.S. Naval Medical Research, I mean, this is all documented, and he used to debrief spies back in the Cold War, so he had access to all this information that you can't get, basically. And they knew all this, and he lists all the document numbers. But I know I'm babbling, but it...
No, you're not, but we're unfortunately out of time for this half hour. Both gentlemen, both Norbert and Brian, I'm sorry to cut everybody short here, but you know, in time and space, the clock does rule. We'll continue, ladies and gentlemen, the other side of these breaks that we have. We call it the hard break at the bottom of the hour, and then the 45. We will continue with Norbert Hauser. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't gotten on, we're certainly going to extend that hand of friendship. The number 1-800-848-9222. And when I come back, I'd like to talk with you, Norbert, about children and cell phones, because I've been reading this and want your qualification on it after we come back. Children have smaller heads naturally and allegedly thinner bone densities in their skulls when they're small. So obviously, maybe you don't want to have a child have a cell phone right next to their head. Much more, ladies and gentlemen, when we come back here on the Dr. Sky Experience.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Pay attention to people, not your phone. A quote from Unknown, but makes so much sense as we talk here with our special guest, Norbert Hauser. He, of course, ladies and gentlemen, is giving us good information, in his opinion, and certainly well respected by the number of phone calls that we're getting here discussing some of the things he's talking about frequency pollution, and, of course, what the cell phone may be emanating that you need to know about, which is this radiation. Norbert, it's good to have you back. I wanted to have you comment something that I read here about children, and we haven't gotten onto that. Is it true? I mean, I'm not a medical doctor, that their skulls are obviously thinner, and if you have a child with that cell phone up next to their head, I don't know how parents would let it happen. What's the story on that? Is there some truth to that that's less density?
Yes. Unfortunately, yes. I'm a strong advocate for the children, because they're much more vulnerable, as well as pregnant women, for electromagnetic radiation. But if you look around realistically, you see 2-3-year-old toddlers in their buggy sitting, having their own cell phone, their own tablet, to be entertained. Because I call these cell phone the new babysitter, a cheap babysitter. The child is busy, so most mothers completely ignore what they do to their children. And one more word is that nowadays, every third person dies of cancer. Every third person, and the number getting worse. For me, the number one reason is Wi-Fi, electromagnetic radiation, cell phone. There are some other reasons as well, which I talk about in other shows. What else pushes the issue of cancer? But the number one reason for me, with no question, is electromagnetic radiation, cell phone, and Wi-Fi. And with children, it's as late as it is with adults. Parents love to give their children these gadgets as entertainment to keep them busy.
And they're very good at navigating through computers, because I know a lot of young children, we're talking maybe teenagers, they know more about how to set up these computers than I ever could imagine, so they start very young.
And I just got an email from one of your listeners, Dara Collins. Hello, Dara. I will answer your email tomorrow, okay? Thank you.
Appreciate that. We're doing a two-way, three-way conversation here on the Dr. Sky Experience. Let's continue, Norbert, with Sandra in New Jersey. Good morning. You're on with Norbert. How are you this morning? A very exciting show, I think.
Good morning. Thank you both for having this discussion. A long time ago I heard that the cell phones are bad. And then I stopped hearing that, so I said to myself, well, maybe they corrected the problems and they're not so bad. But I know every time I put those ear pods in my ears, and I have to say I do it a lot, I'm sad over it because I know that I'm doing something bad. I mean, we need them for the gym because people who are in the gym do not want to hear your phone without...
Exactly. They're in their own private world, right, when they're doing that.
Right. They don't want we don't want to disturb them, so we use them in the elevators, in the gym. We use them everywhere. When you go shopping, you have to have everything quiet.
They don't protect you. The earbuds don't protect you.
I know. So what do I do?
That's a good question, Sandra.
Well, I don't want to sound cheap, Sandra, but this is why I developed my technology, where I can prove that I can save people's life for $99. Guaranteed. If I can say this, Dr. Sky.
Well, let me say this to you
for $99, guaranteed for 5 years.
Let me say this. Go to Improve Your Life, the simple website. Go to improveyourlife.us, and I think they can find this. But again, I respect you highly. I just didn't want to turn it into an infomercial, and you know what I'm saying.
No, and I don't want it, but now I'm standing with the back to the wall because people say, I'm suffering. What should I do now?
Absolutely. I get that.
Okay. Let me just finish this, and then I'll never get back to this. On my website, I have the answer. You can ask me, you send me emails. I have proofs, and so on and so forth, right?
Appreciate it.
And then again, please, on my website is a button called Books. I don't sell books. But I have this book there from Captain Jerry Flynn from the Canadian Army, Hidden Dangers 5G. He tells you everything. It's the Bible. If you read this book, you get everything to know. And besides Barry Trower, what the gentleman mentioned, there's another gentleman on the Internet, one of the biggest fellows here who knows what's going on. His name is Professor Olle Johansson from Sweden. So I'm cooperating with people. I'm meeting them. I'm communicating with them. I'm promoting their work, their books, their findings. But you said you never heard again about the danger. Yeah, guess what?
Right.
It's a money question. It's a money question.
As most things, as are most things in the
and
world.
Don't forget, the government has sold to the industry the rights for the frequency. The government has made business by selling the frequencies to these commercial companies. They pay.
Well, here's
for
something
that.
I read, Norbert, that's interesting. It says here, and I read this, and I don't believe everything I read. The FCC says that all phones that are tested in the U.S. are safe phones. So, wow, we got a long way to go with that statement. Again, I don't necessarily believe everything I read, nor do you, Sandra. Go ahead, please. You got the floor.
I want to know one more time, where would I go now? Because I came in a little late on your show to learn the first step, what I should do to correct what I'm doing wrong. So really slow, so I can write it down.
The first step is never be late on Dr. Sky's show. It's a lesson for life.
You know, you got to love this Norbert guy. I love this guy because he has a way about him that he's giving us this information, and you can feel the energy in what he's talking about. Sandra.
I know.
Have we answered most of your concerns, Sandra, at this point?
She wanted a website. She wanted a website.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I wanted you to say it slow so I can write it down. And
it's a very simple website. It's called ImproveYourLife.us.
.us.
Okay.
One more time, I'll say it from this microphone.
Should improve the life, right? Improve your life, and we're in United States .us.
Right. ImproveYourLife.us. Like the good old USA. Sandra, blessings to you. I hope it all helps out. Let's continue. We got so many callers here. Wow, time is moving fast. Let's say good morning to Kathy in New Jersey. Kathy, you've been patient. Your questions to Norbert.
Oh, yes, good morning, and thank you for all of this wonderful information. You've kind of about 2 minutes ago, you touched on the subject that I was interested in. Is there any concern about the fetus in the woman?
Wow.
Absolutely. Look, an unborn baby is the most vulnerable human being on this planet. An unborn baby is the most vulnerable human being on this planet. And when everything you do as a mother, every feeling you have, every emotion, the baby shares. Every food, the baby shares. Every time you drink caffeine products, like certain teas, energy drinks, coffee, and so on, the baby suffers. There's a study which says that with 17,000 people in Australia, drinking caffeine reduces your gray brain matter. 17,000 people study. It increases by 50% your likelihood of dementia. Now, when a mother drinks caffeine and energy drinks and soda pops with caffeine, don't you think that what counts for the mother, that she reduces her gray brain matter, that would not count for the unborn baby? Of course it does.
Yes, you're right.
Yes.
And it's for me, for example, a likely answer for the autism we have, which Mr. Kennedy is looking for the answer. Okay?
Yes.
And so it's obvious what you do to an unborn baby, what you do to the mother, the unborn baby shares.
Wow, Kathy, I hope that's answering your concerns because you're so right.
Well, actually, I was thinking about that, whether this was possibly, before you mentioned it, Norbert, the possibility that this is what affects these unborn babies and brings them into the world, with this very serious disease of autism.
Yes,
they really don't have a fighting chance.
No, that's my opinion, yes.
No, and that's exactly right. The guests we have, these are in their opinion, ladies and gentlemen, and we certainly appreciate the callers and the opinions and the questions that we're getting. Kathy, I appreciate your time, so thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much. Good night.
Always a pleasure. You have a good morning. Let's hold one moment here before we go to the next callers, because I just want to talk a little more with you. I want to give out the website again so people can hear it again. It's ImproveYourLife.us. That's the easiest way to get in touch with Norbert. Your questions and comments, and you said you also had a listener that already responded, and you responded back. That's incredible. The speed of light. That's pretty good stuff. So you can learn so much more about the seminars that he does, the products that he offers, and of course, the great research. As you told us, you have thousands of pages of research to support and substantiate many of the things, in your opinion, that you're giving us here on the Dr. Sky Experience. We appreciate that greatly. So with children, that's an amazing thing. I mean, asking the questions about potential harm to the fetus. Children, of course, with a thinner skull density. I'm not a medical doctor, but you've answered that. And that's quite an interesting story unto itself. Just before the break, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to give off a little bit of our Sky Report. I know people are waiting for that anxiously. And let's go back into history. I know, Norbert, you probably know this well, but Johannes Kepler, he had a very interesting book called The Harmony of the Spheres, and that, of course, dealt with musical tones that each planet, he believed, gave off. But in your sky, ladies and gentlemen, the moon, of course, reaches its last quarter phase. You can see it rising around midnight, high in the southern sky by sunrise. Your morning planets are both Venus and Jupiter, easy to see with the naked eye. And we now have some comets that are coming close to the sun. One of them happens to be a comet called Comet Lemon. For those of you listening in darker skies, you can go to the website, theskylive.com. And a big meteor shower next weekend, peaking on the 21st. The Orionid meteor shower, ladies and gentlemen. So many wonderful things. But Norbert, I thought I'd add that in there because the great Johannes Kepler, who gave us the laws of planetary motion, he talked about harmonies and frequencies. Very apropos. But we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, our last break of our 2-hour show. If you want to email me on future potential guests, it's just drsky@wabcradio.com. And don't forget, if you want to listen to all of the many different podcasts and programs that we've done in the past and all the other great hosts on Talk Radio 77 WABC, simply go to wabcradio.com or equally important, redappleaudionetworks.com. We'll be right back.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The less devices you have to charge, the more charge you have for your mind. Another great quote from author Najit Naskar as we move on through time and space at 48 minutes after the hour. Our very special guest, as we continue to call him a friend here, and by popular opinion, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we continue with your calls. Let's say good morning to Joe in Queens. You've been patient. You're on with Norbert.
Yeah, hi. My question would be more elaboration as, say, a passenger in a car. You could be hiring an Uber, for example. You could, I don't know if you'd step into an electric vehicle. Any current car would have more of these electronics than, say, 10 years ago. Basically, unless you could ask not to purchase them, and then a driverless vehicle or a vehicle that might be 10 years older. How would he contrast those different vehicles in terms?
Very interesting, Joe.
Well, the answer is what is not widely known, that every regular car, a lot of electronics or not, or older or newer, every regular combustion chamber car creates electromagnetic radiation. That is not primarily by the electronics in the car. It's primarily by the turning of the tires and the using of the brakes.
So when you hit the brakes, what, you're burning up the whatever, the brake pad asbestos?
The friction. Mm-hmm. The friction creates electromagnetic radiation. I don't know whether you ever heard about water, underground water. We have underground water veins called water veins. Water veins in the ground create electromagnetic radiation by the friction where the water rushes through different layers of stones.
Interesting. No, I have not.
Which creates then what is called geopathic radiation, when the earth makes you sick.
And I was hoping that the natural frequency of the earth, which is like 7.83 megahertz or hertz, is something good, but there's another subset, right?
Well, that's yes, the 7.8 hertz is, of course, what we should have and what we live by, but that doesn't change anything. Nature is not always healthy. You have poisoning snakes, you have poisoning fruits, and we have something which is called geopathic radiation. You have man-made electromagnetic radiation and natural recurring electromagnetic radiation, which I have a separate show about if you're ever interested in. So, and it's a secret, I call it the secret cause of cancer.
That's interesting. Joe in Queens, are we answering, or is he answering what your concerns were? If not, please continue.
Yeah, also as a passenger, say, and you know, the Teslas, is that problematic?
Of course. You're sitting on a power pack of batteries. I must say that I have written a letter to Elon Musk some years back, offering him cooperation with me, that I put my technology in his cars. I never got an answer. I'm not surprised. The man is very busy. I should make another try. I think he's nowadays more approachable than ever before. He's making a change in his life. I can feel that. Yes, whether you're driving the car or sitting in the car, it doesn't matter. You sit on a power pack of batteries. They create electromagnetic radiation through the wazoo.
And some people claim, obviously we're not ignorant here, that the lithium-ion batteries, when those cars do ignite, for whatever reason, not all of them, that becomes more of a problem than we can talk about in this radio show. Joe in Queens, thank you for the call. We're pressed for time. The last caller on the line, we try to get to everybody. Good morning to Bob in Queens. You're on with Norbert Hoser. How are you?
Yes, Dr. Sky, I respect your program a lot and the great scientists that you sometimes have on. But, this guy has some crazy ideas.
Okay.
And, since 91, cancer deaths, the rate of cancer deaths are down 34% in the United States. Okay, right off the bat, boom. Explain that when cell phone use is way up. And the other one is studies by the Mayo Clinic and Harvard indicate that caffeine use, moderate caffeine use, actually lowers the rate of dementia. So you're wrong twice.
Okay.
So I think they're trying to...
Well, thank you, Bob, and let Norbert respond here because we're almost out of time. But hey, everybody's opinion is important here. So go ahead, Norbert.
Well, there are a lot of informations out there in the world. The question is which ones you read and which ones you can trust. I've written a book about caffeine addiction in which I quote people references universities with their findings, which you feel free to buy for $16 and read it to get a lot of information which you're not aware of. Concerning cancer, every third person is dying in the moment of cancer. And according to the Epoch Times, the World Health Organization has published that they expect over the next few years an increase of 77% in cancer. The World Health Organization, look up their website, recently forecasted a 77% rise in global cancer cases, according to the Epoch Times. If you go Epoch Times or World Health Organization, you'll find this information. Wherever you got the information from, I can guarantee you they're wrong.
Bob, you get the last word as we close out the show. Continue if you're with us. I guess Bob's not there. It's interesting as we talk about this stuff, Norbert. I just wanted to bring up something here that many people do not know. I read this the other day in preparation, as I try to do extensive preparations. This is interesting. Even a banana, they're saying, see if you can qualify this one. A certain mild radioactive isotope is still in extremely low, and I say that extremely low, levels of radiation called potassium-40. Is that really, is there truth to that, or is I reading something backwards or sideways? Tell me
I must tell you, Dr. Sky, I don't know.
Okay.
I never came across this.
I appreciate that. And not to scare people from eating bananas. I sure like them.
Look,
but
for me, professionalism, my definition of professionalism is you know what you cannot do and you stay away from it.
That's very good. And always honesty is the thing that sets us free. So I appreciate that.
A quick one to you earlier said about something which is called the microwave radiation. There was a crowd crowd control weapons, 5G radiation, as you explained it. They use like a gun and shoot at people.
They do.
And there was a video which is gone nowadays, not to find anymore, when the American Army was in the Iraq War and they emptied a bunker by shooting 5G frequencies into the bunker. And the people ran out because what happens is that they get a burning sensation like they're burning a life.
That's exactly what I was saying, Norbert. And, in the previous life that I had, this is interesting. We're at a big convention in Las Vegas, and to spare the details, because we're almost out of time, this gentleman said to me, here, I want you to stand on the other side of the convention center. This is the Las Vegas Convention Center. Big, you know how big it is. So I'm looking at him, line of sight, and way down there I can see this thing that looks like a big stop sign. And he's on a cell phone. There we go. And he's telling me, I'm going to pan it your direction. Tell me what happens. Oh, my goodness. I heard this increase of white noise, literally vibrating what I thought was my brain. And it was so nasty that I had to just step out of the field. So there are those uses. And, like I say, if there's obviously need for crowd control and riots where people are getting out of control, I'm sure they have those technologies. And you're right. The microwave heater is the one that I'm more concerned about. That one, nobody's going to be protesting or throwing rocks or bottles or burning police cars if you fire that baby in their direction. That's pretty powerful stuff. But again,
and for your final
frequency
information,
pollution.
The human sweat channels, they act like antennas, collecting the 5G energy as antennas to the body and create this burning sensation.
No, it's amazing. I mean, we called it the LRAD. I mean, people, as you're saying, there's videos all over about these, crowd control suppression weapons. But I wasn't aware that 5G was part of that, so you've just educated us on that. And there's a lot of concerns that have been about 5G. We had other guests in programs that I've done in the past where you were telling us, and qualify this, we got about a minute and a half here, but apparently the antennas for some of the 5G is what? Closer spaced than what the big towers are. So obviously it has more connectivity because it doesn't have the distance line of sight that some of the older technology had. It has to have more of these antennas because the signal strength depreciates.
The waves are shorter. They have millimeter waves. They're extremely short waves, and they cannot penetrate through walls so easy and not over distance.
Wow. This has been the fastest 2 hours, I think, of any show we've done, and I do appreciate, Norbert, what you're doing here. One more time, ladies and gentlemen, to go and check his website out, if you choose to, is improveyourlife.us. Norbert, thanks for being a guest. Let's try to do this again when more information comes out. But again, a summation is about frequency pollution. And in your opinion, the opinion of our guest, we need to be very concerned about cell phone radiation and other radiation from all other sources that are penetrating our bodies, not just from the outer space, like cosmic radiation and all the other things that go on. But remember, the most powerful source of radiation yet that we know of on planet Earth is the gamma ray bursts. In 1 second, more energy beamed out, thank goodness they're billions of light years away, than the sun will put out in 10 billion years. We now pass the torch of knowledge and, of course, dialogue to T.J. McCormack. Stay tuned for the other side of midnight. And I want to thank our navigators of the airwaves, both Tony and Bill. They are our helmsmen. We'll see you next week. Peace, health, and happiness, and good health. Thank you, Norbert.
Thanks for listening to the Dr. Sky Experience. You can hear the Dr. Sky Experience Saturday mornings, midnight to 2 a.m. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
The following is a paid political announcement.
Lifelong Democrat Diana Florence served for 25 years as a Manhattan prosecutor under DA Robert Morgenthau. She put criminals away, stood up for victims, and protected our streets. Now, Diana is challenging failed Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg as an independent because it's time for a DA who fights for our families, not criminals. That's why Diana has won the support of organized labor, like the steamfitters, plumbers, and ironworkers, everyday New Yorkers who want a DA they can trust. Manhattan needs a DA who will do the job, prosecute crime. That's Diana Florence. Under Alvin Bragg, crime is up and prosecutions are down. Bragg doesn't prosecute crime. He plays partisan politics. Bragg failed to protect women and failed to protect workers. As a prosecutor, Diana Florence won groundbreaking convictions, fighting against corruption, domestic violence, wage theft, and deadly working conditions. She's always been a partner of unions, community groups, and to cops like us. For Manhattan District Attorney, vote for Diana Florence. Diana4DA.com. Paid for by Diana for Manhattan DA.